Devadatta, the man who defied the Buddha. This story explores true enlightenment, human weaknesses, and the importance of compassion and devotion through the conflict between the Buddha and Devadatta. It also serves as a timeless tale that teaches us how one can introspect and build relationships with others. The relationship between the two symbolizes faith and sincerity, ambition and jealousy, and the different paths to enlightenment. Once upon a time in the vast lands of India, a deep and intense rivalry had developed between the enlightened Buddha and his ambitious cousin Devadatta. Devadatta was a man of great talent, strong will and ambition, but he was also driven by jealousy. In his heart, he constantly harbored a desire for the fame and status achieved by the Buddha. Devadatta often devised schemes to fulfill his own ambitions. He was exceptionally knowledgeable and persuasive, using his abilities to try to change the teachings of Buddhism and position himself as a new leader. However, his plans usually led to misunderstandings and suspicion, and often his proposals were even rejected among his disciples. His heart burned with jealousy towards the Buddha's compassionate and gentle teachings, further fueling his ambitions. Devadatta often believed himself to be a superior leader than the Buddha and capable of guiding Buddhism in a new direction. However, his views were more stringent and disciplined, making them unpopular among many monks, and most of his proposals felt futile. Devadatta's personality had self-centered and selfish aspects, with new schemes and ambitions constantly swirling in his mind. Yet, glimpses of deep religious sincerity were also evident in him, occasionally manifesting as strong faith. However, this faith was often clouded by his own ambitions, resulting in an ever-deepening rift between him and the Buddha. One day, Devadatta declared to the Buddhist monastic community that he was the new leader, capable of guiding them to true enlightenment with stricter precepts. Ah, world-honored one, your lenient precepts are like a perfect wall, shielding from the harsh realities of the world. Yet, beyond that wall, true enlightenment awaits you. However, your comfortable path may be too far removed from that truth, he said, sarcastically criticizing the Buddha and his disciples' precepts for being indulgent. He criticized the Buddha's teachings for being too lax and attempted to draw away some of the monks. However, the disciples, captivated by the Buddha's compassionate teachings, did not widely accept Devadatta's proposal. Instead, they advised him, saying, "Devadatta, your heart is clouded with ambition and envy. The path to true enlightenment begins with purifying the mind and cultivating compassion and understanding towards others. Your actions only bring suffering to yourself and those around you, far from true wisdom." Angered by his failure and shame, Devadatta grew even more envious of the Buddha and resolved to eliminate him. He plotted an outrageous sin for the sake of his ambition. One day, Devadatta threw a rock at the Buddha. The rock split in two mid-air, and the Buddha narrowly escaped major injury, but his foot was struck, causing a severe wound that bled. Devadatta also attempted to assassinate arahants, highly enlightened beings close to the Buddha. However, this plan too failed, and his sins continued to accumulate. Eventually, Devadatta committed the crime of attempting to split the monastic community. He persuaded some monks to follow his new teachings, creating chaos and division within the order. But this attempt also ended in failure, and the monks ultimately returned to the Buddha, recognizing Devadatta's wrongdoing. Devadatta's actions, which led to these sins, clearly demonstrated how his ambition not only destroyed himself, but also harmed those around him. Yet, he persisted in his cunning and merciless schemes, next plotting to attack the Buddha with a ferocious elephant. However, the Buddha's compassionate radiance calmed the elephant, which ended up bowing down to him. While Devadatta continued to devise cunning and ambitious plans, he could never overcome the Buddha's superior wisdom and compassion, ultimately walking a path of failure and disappointment. Known for his calm and compassionate nature, the Buddha addressed Devadatta with unusual words. Devadatta, your heart is clouded with ambition and envy. The path to true enlightenment begins with purifying the mind and cultivating compassion and understanding towards others. Your actions only bring suffering to yourself and those around you, far from true wisdom. Devadatta's actions gradually darkened his own fate, and the weight of his sins began to consume his heart and soul. His ambitions had gone too far, and eventually his body too suffered the consequences of his misdeeds. He became weak, pain struck him, and remorse for his past actions scorched his heart. But by that point, there was nothing he could do. His sins were too heavy, and salvation was no longer possible. As his final days approached, Devadatta began to gradually understand the true value of the Buddha's teachings, but it was already too late. Lying on his bed, he harbored respect and gratitude towards the Buddha while continuously regretting his sins. However, this remorse could not save Devadatta, and he was destined to fall into hell after death due to his own misdeeds. The tragic story of Devadatta teaches us how jealousy and desire can lead people astray and to failure, and it also demonstrates how true enlightenment can change and save a person's heart. However, in Devadatta's case, his errors were too grave, and his soul could not be saved. Devadatta's downfall ultimately sealed his unfortunate fate, and its conclusion serves as a poignant reminder of the importance of purifying the mind and compassion, as well as the universal truths in the Buddha's teachings.